to be an individual, to have your free will and do whatever fuck you want, love who you want, all this. And we need less of that. We need more of listening and accepting and humility and following that truth. But we don't even know what truth sounds like or looks like or feels like anymore.
I'm Elysia Skye, and this is the Brilliance Method. Through mindful, motivational, and often hilarious conversations with thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and executives, you'll discover new ways to create your life on purpose. Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Brilliance Method. I'm so excited today to welcome the amazing Erin Patton, who shared with me that thriving as a Black woman in today's corporate and entrepreneurial spaces is a journey full of unique challenges, but it doesn't have to be a lonely one. Erin Patton is dedicated to helping exceptional Black women align their professional ambitions with inner peace and purpose. With dual master's degrees from Harvard in business and public policy and years of experience leading corporate teams, she understands the pressures of leadership, personal grief, and societal barriers firsthand. Her journey led to the power of metaphysics, a practice that blends ancient wisdom with modern strategy to unlock the divine potential within. So it is no accident that she is on this show. And through her work at the meta business world, Erin specializes in Black women to rise above burnout, conflict, and organizational dis is brilliant. So if you are listening and you are not a Black woman or do not identify, stay present because you are going to be inspired. She empowers her clients to overcome male-dominated industries through tangible healing and strategic insight. When she's be found pushing herself at the gym, which you can see on her Instagram, exploring new destinations, or raising her amazing son, Harlow Hiru, is proof that you don't have when you were born to thrive. Welcome to the show, Magic Woman.
Yes. Oh my God, that was such a beautiful intro. I'm like, I need to copy and paste that for myself.
I will send it
Thank
to
you for having
you.
me. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, my love. And it was so fun to be on your show, which I will link down in the description for this as well. Erin and I went live. We went deep. We talked about a lot of compassionate communication and how to avoid getting fired or canceled. And it's
Yeah.
such a great conversation. And I love your show and I love what you do. I love the world that you built. I love what you stand for. And, even though I am not a Black woman, it just felt like it was right for us to connect and be in each other's business worlds. So thank you, honey. Thank you. And
Yes, you're so welcome.
I want to kick it off by asking, because this is my jam, what inspired your metaphysical path?
Ooh, I love that question because it enables me to tell my story in a way that I would never have a chance to tell it, because the metaphysical journey certainly is just my life journey. And I feel like people think that spiritualism has to be attained somewhere in the Himalayas or with a yogi in India or somewhere in like Bali, which would actually be really fucking nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in this day and time, like that's just not how God wants it to be for us. Like you mentioned this on my podcast that people in the West are overcoming or are called to overcome egoic issues.
Whoop.
And for me, you just read my bio. Sound like that bitch got a lot of ego. 2 masters from Harvard. Okay. That's a lot. 2 undergraduate degrees from University of Texas. Okay. Who am I trying to prove myself to? Exactly. And I felt like this was essentially my life, is that I was constantly wanting to prove myself, my intelligence, my beauty, my reason for being to other people. And when you're choosing that path, obviously it gets exhausting, it's, unfulfilling, and it's incredibly miserable. And so by the time I graduated from Harvard, I was all of those things and more, including close to suicidal because I was in a toxic relationship. I had unexpectedly lost my father. My mom had attempted suicide, and I was left to try to build and hold together this familial structure, my new business that I had launched by myself.
Wow.
And I didn't have Harvard don't teach that. Don't
Right.
nobody teach you how to hold your life together emotionally, you know, mentally when everything falls apart and falls away. No one teaches that but God. And so, that's when my spiritual journey began, when I started to question my reason for existing. Like, why am I even here? Why is all this shit happening to me? So it
Mhm.
came from to our conversation before, a victim mindset. Like, everything is happening to me and I want it to stop. It
Yeah.
was just very much that simple. And so the only thing that I knew that was beyond me that could control these things was God. And so I very intentionally started to, pray, fast. I stopped drinking. I was sober for years. And I really went on a very austere, I would say a very austere path, because that was also what I grew up with. I grew up Catholic. I grew up, admiring nuns and priests who took vows of celibacy and vows of this and vows of that for God. So I thought that that was the path for me to be closer to God, was to just punish myself, of
Hmm.
course.
Ooh.
And so, and that a lot of that continued. Like, I started doing yoga teacher training. So in my yoga teacher training, I would go to yoga every day, sometimes twice a day. I became a Tai Chi master. I would do these 180 bows every morning with my Tai Chi group. So I had a very, if you will, punishing approach even in my metaphysical journey, my spiritual journey, because that was what I was very comfortable with. And it signaled to me that I was disciplined and I was committed and I was going after something, and those couldn't be further from what God desires for us in our path. But it felt right for me. But as I was doing these things, so much was coming out. I was starting to experience emotions. I was starting to experience new emotions like anger. I don't know how many of y'all have seen Inside Out, but I literally cried watching this Disney movie because it was so much like my experience, not knowing how to manage these different personalities, if you will,
Yeah.
which many of us have, particularly as multidimensional beings. That's what being multidimensional is that you exist in many different forms. And they all have different personalities and different interests and different experiences to bring to your soul's journey. And all of these things were coming out, and I didn't really know what to do with them. And was just learning how to manage what I was feeling because it was uncomfortable for me to feel.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you for your vulnerability and your transparency there. And so relatable. Most people, if they are kind and sensitive and intuitive and powerful, and they've worked hard or fought hard, including fighting for their own life or seeing their family fighting for their life to get what they need, they perhaps haven't expressed a lot of anger because they've just gone forward, trudged forward, even sometimes people pleased, especially when I hear stories of people being in bad relationships. Like, where is our self worth? And then we bury all of that and it manifests somehow, some way. And then that emotional breakthrough happens, and you're like, what do I do with this? Like, who is this? Who is she? So we can turn within, we can turn to God, we could turn to drugs and alcohol. Like, we just turn and find ourselves. And I just hope everyone who is watching this right now can be inspired by your story, that you can get all the degrees and be gorgeous and fun and fabulous and smart and still have a moment. And
That part. Have
right.
many moments.
Have a moment.
Continual.
You give us permission, Aaron.
Oh, I love that.
Now, you grew up Catholic, and you and I are very spiritual and very similar in a lot of ways. But what is your idea of God? Like, how would you explain God if you were talking to your son?
Oh my God. Perfect question, because this I do talk to him about God. And I just tell him that God
Yeah.
is our daddy and God is our mommy. How we're kind of taught in our academic ways is omnipotent and omnipresent and omniscient. And it's all of these things because God is all of these things.
Mhm.
And so for my son, it's really helpful for him to understand God as like mommy and daddy, because in a child's world, that's our parents are everything, and
Yeah.
they really determine and imprint on us how we should be in this world. And for all intents and purposes, you say I'm vulnerable, so I'm gonna be vulnerable. Harlow's dad is not physically present in his life.
Mhm.
My dad is not physically present in my life.
Mhm.
So me and my son have something in common. So when he has these moments where he's longing for his daddy, I can relate to him,
Mhm.
and I say, God is my daddy. God is our daddy. So that which we desire and feel like we lack from the physical presence of our father, we gain from our real motherfucking daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like someone who actually can deliver on all of those things that we desire. And same from a mother's perspective, and I teach him that too. Like when mommy's not here, you call on God for your needs, for that nurturing, for that love, for that care, for that softness, for that gentleness, because God is all things. And that's why it's so inconceivable for us, because especially today, we're so locked into these gender roles and norms and boxes that it's hard for us to conceive that a being can be both masculine and feminine, can can hold space for all of these different things for us. Yet this is what God does. God is both creator and initiator and igniter, and so that's creator woman, feminine, igniter masculine. And it's really hard for us to conceive, like, how can a single being be all these things? Well, we're not supposed to really be able to conceive God. Yet one thing we can do is receive God. And so this is essentially what I teach my son.
I love that. Oh,
Mhm.
honey, we can't conceive God, we can receive God.
Mhm.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, I just made that up.
That's going on my Post-it wall. As you were talking, I'm gonna shuffle cards. I wanna pull a card for you today, and
Yes,
all
I love
right.
cards.
And I feel like everyone who's listening right now, this will be for you too. And as I shuffle and we just continue setting this intention to receive this energy of divine presence, whatever you interpret God to be for you, I study A Course in Miracles. It's not a religion, it's a philosophy, and it's
It
based on forgiveness. And whenever people are having their moments and feeling frustrated, angry, sad, depressed, anxious, and we really, you know, kind of root it down, root it down, root it down. What's this really about? What's this really about? We talk it out maybe in a one-on-one session. Well, what's this about? Why does that matter? What's this about? Why does that matter? When you root it down, root it down. We just want to love and be loved. Always,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
That's the answer to all of it. And so
Yeah.
why do we I feel the reason we don't always remember how loved we are is because we think we're separated from our father,
That part.
right? So I jokingly tell my clients, like, we've just got daddy issues. Like I say it
Yeah.
all the time, right? And like,
Yeah.
we think we're separate from God when truly we are at home in God. We are a part of God. We're not separate from this energy at all.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories I've told on this podcast is I was in Israel. This is the card that popped out, so I'll read it in a second. I was in Israel, and this rabbi was sharing that this little girl said to him, "Hey, you say God is everywhere, but I can't see God." And he said, "Okay, I get the confusion, I get the concern. So tell me, what is God? What have I taught you? What is God?" And she said, "Well, God." And he said, "Okay, and God is everywhere, right?" "Yeah." "Well, then where are you right now?" And she paused. She thought. She got really excited and she went, "I'm in love. I'm in love." And then it was like a dance, right?
Oh,
Uh,
that's beautiful.
we are in love, Aaron.
I agree.
And when we forget who we are, that's where the trouble lies. Okay, so the card that I pulled, this is Unbound.
I love it.
There she is.
Releasing soul patterns, releasing soul contracts in past lives. Girl, you don't know how on point this is. I gotta just talk right now.
Okay, go, go, go.
So I just filmed my podcast this past week. We had ours last week. And this week's podcast, I kid you not, was called Soul Ties and How to Call in Your True Love. And I did a cord cutting meditation on my podcast to release past life trauma, soul tie connections that do no longer serve us. Okay. Like, I'm not hating on our past lives and our past lovers and our karmic issues. They served a purpose, but
Yeah.
our soul is like, I'm good now. Like, I don't need to keep reincarnating to do the same shit.
Yeah.
I actually can evolve and grow and explore uncharted territories, places that no one in my soul has never seen before. I'm ready for that. Been ready for that. And so that's perfect.
There it is. So this is a confirmation that the work that you did is in effect, okay? Past, present, and future, right? See these 3 beautiful women
Yes.
floating into that moon, into that energy. You are
Yes.
you are done, honey. All is forgiven and released.
And there was a new moon in Pisces yesterday. Did we not just say that?
That's right, that's right. And the day that we're filming this, it is February 28th, and there are 7 planets in alignment today, and
Yeah.
that's intense. He was, like, looking at the end of February going, "What just happened?" It's like every single planet is lined up, so there's no point in me going through all of it, but yeah, I mean, yeah, so and then for everyone who's watching, this card was for you too, right? So whatever it is that you are intending to let go of, to be finally forgive and move past. One of my greatest teachers, Gay Hendricks, talks about at the end of The Big Leap, it's like the second or last chapter, truly forgiven someone in a relationship, you don't get to hash it up again later. The way to work and to thrive and to go through the trauma and drama that they go through to be stronger is you both of you have to take 100% responsibility for where you're at. Now you're like, "Wait a minute, that's too much math." But no, it's not. If Aaron, you and I get in a fight and I'm like, "You know what, my love, I take 100% responsibility for the situation. Like, I don't care what you did. It's not about that. It was on me. It's on me. I'm gonna own it, and I'm gonna own the resentment, and I'm gonna let it go, and I love you, and I'm gonna forgive you, and we're gonna move past it, and I'm never gonna bring it up again." And if you were to say, "And you know what, Elysia, I take 100% responsibility, and I love you, and I'm not gonna hold any resentment, and we're never gonna bring it up again." That means we can never bring it up again, right? It's not this thing that we get to, like, flare up later and break up over again, like, it means we've truly taken 100% responsibility and moved through it. So that's part of true forgiveness. It's part of true forgiveness.
I love it.
Yeah, honey, you are unbound. Release soul patterns, contracts, like, be done. End the cycle of reincarnation. End these karmic past lives that are present in this life now, so you don't have to keep bringing that karma forward into another life. And if God says, "Hey, Aaron, you need another go around," just let it be a princess life. Just like,
Yeah.
right?
I get to choose that. I get to choose what I want now. I don't have to be bound by like you said, the covert contracts, unconscious contracts. It's almost like a prism, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all of these things. It's me not having the agency to move in that which God has for me.
Yeah.
But now I'm sovereign and now I have the ability to align and I choose in this way. And this probably what got me fucked up in the last way. I was using my free will. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Thank you for the free will, God. But I only want your will. Your will and your will alone for me, God, because my will get me fucked up every time. And
Mhm.
that's what we talked about last time. And I feel like this is something as Americans, the ego structure is
Yeah.
really programmed to do for self, to be an individual, to have your free will and do whatever fuck you want, love who you want, all this. And we need less of that. We need more of listening and accepting and humility and listen, just following that truth. And but we don't even know what truth sounds like or looks like or feels like anymore. So
Uh-huh.
that's a whole other conversation.
Uh-huh. And what if the all that free will that we think we have, what if that's all bullshit?
Yeah, it is.
Right? What if the script is very much outlined for us?
Yeah.
Okay. And we are here to show up and fill in the blanks and freak out and love and explore and fail and laugh and grow. And our true free will is our perception, how we
Yes.
see the world, how we talk about our life, how we
Yeah.
love and let go.
Our
Right?
expression,
Yeah.
our expression in that outline.
Yep. There it is.
Oh
Right? So
God. That's it. That's what I want.
like, we can just let it be easy, and I think you're right, people fall into this path of despair when we're trying to control the narrative over and over and over. So that surrender that you just committed to, like, I feel it in my heart and my bones, and I'm sure everyone listening does too. Like, yeah, what if I just get the fuck out of my own way and put the wiser, smarter beings in charge and just show up and do what I feel motivated and inspired to do from a place of love and joy.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk about how you do that because a
How?
lot of people want to do that, but they're
Yeah.
like, how the fuck do I just surrender?
Okay.
Well, you got to develop a very close and trusting relationship with God.
Mhm.
How do you do that? Talk to God. Just like you talk to your mama every day, or you talk to your man every day, or you talk to your woman every day, you gotta talk to God every fucking day, all day.
Yeah.
And that's something that I, even up until recently, did not do. Of course, I would say my prayers and I would, oh God, like, please help me. Like, I remember saying my prayers, let me have patience and wisdom. Like, it was almost like, who, who is
Like you're
that?
bargaining,
I
right?
don't know who that girl is. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, I'll help you out here. But God is like, I literally have a prayer. I have like a ritual that I walk through, of course, just to center my beingness. But then I go to God, like, this is going on in my life. I need you to be with me. I be
Mhm.
real as fuck with God. Like how I be talking to y'all right now. I'm real as fuck
Mhm.
with God. I
Mhm.
cry. I yell. I get angry. God loves that. God loves that. Bring your problems to God, not to your man. Bring your problems to God who actually can do something for you.
Yeah.
Who actually can get the man out your life. Maybe the man's the problem. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Go to God every time.
Yeah.
And I promise you, whatever you're going through will show up that day. It
It
is
does
immediate.
happen. It's amazing.
It will happen immediately. And you will just be like, "Oh my God." And then you'll come back the next day, okay, well, God, like, well, like, thank you for that. Well, and then there's gonna always be another challenge. And in those conversations with God, like I mentioned before, ask God to align your will to his will, or to God's will. I don't like to necessarily ascribe, the his, her,
Okay.
but align your will to God's will. Ask God for protection in your path too, because you will come up against some energies that are going to be caustic, that are going to be triggering. Ask
Mhm.
for protection in those moments. Ask for God for the right words in those moments. Even in that moment. Oh my God, what do I say? God, help me with my words. Real quick, that's a thought.
Yep.
3-second thought. And I promise you it'll flow. It may be uncomfortable, but it'll come out and you'll have that relief. Okay, at least I said it. Okay, and you can breathe and okay, I'm still alive, you know? So, cuz a lot of this stuff is karmic. These are karmic, like we said, karmic patterns that we're trapped in, that maybe in a past life speaking our truth actually got us killed.
Mhm.
I've seen that for myself.
Me too.
And so being able to speak my truth is actually a very scary thing because of the fear of being killed. That's a reasonable fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you're gripped by that, you have to understand that this is something way bigger than me. And I'm in a situation now where I have to protect myself, but it's not life or death, but it feels that way. And it's okay.
Mm.
And so these are tools that I've used, especially more recently, that have really accelerated my desires manifesting and my life just having much more harmony because I go to God every morning and I talk to him just like I do my best friend. Like I'm getting chills. I
Mhm.
love God so much. If I did not have God, honestly, I have nothing. I mean, it's like not having God. That's like not even like for me, I can't even conceive that.
Mhm.
But it honestly has to be part of you. God has to be part of you. You are, and I call myself a goddess. Like I am a goddess. Like I am God. Like
Yeah.
I am an incarnation of God. I am a literally extension of God.
Mhm.
So for me to not honor that every day, speak over it, speak to it, then what the fuck am I doing here?
Mhm.
Wasting a lot of people's time.
Yeah.
Mine, most importantly.
What I love and respect so much about you, Erin, is you have like just this amazing education and background and history and resume, and you're a badass and a powerful speaker and an amazing coach and very successful podcaster. And it's like, I got, not only do I not have shame about how spiritual I am, but like I put it at the front of who I am and I want everybody to know. And again, like it's just what keeps coming through. You are here to give people permission, Erin, and you're here to give people permission who are like very corporate to lean more into their spirituality, and people who are lost and scared or want to unlife themselves, like lean into their spirituality. Like you're just opening that door for everybody right now. And
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
thank
And
you.
it's nothing wrong with that unlifing piece because it's like it's all a game at the end of the day. Like, say that does happen because sometimes it does. You're going to come back and hopefully this plants a seed for you to be able to recall in that next iteration. Because, like we said, we are trapped in this incarnation cycle. So, likely, if the life's not right now, sometimes we do need to hit reset. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but
Yeah, of course.
that's sometimes the situation for people. I have friends that did it and it
Yeah.
fucked me up, but at the same time, it's just like, hey, I know my homegirl, she needed a restart.
Uh,
You know what I'm
whew,
saying? So
yeah.
I really had to come to understand the nuances of life and depth and flow. And especially with my daddy, like that fucked me up real bad. Like I'm just barely getting over it with his demise. He passed away a few years ago, several years ago now. And it was just like his life was trash. Like he needed to get up out of that body. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And so yeah. So
There it is.
that's a little piece to that.
No, it's important to hear. And there's a series of books by a man named Dr. Michael Newton. And his first book is Journey of Souls, followed by Destiny of Souls. And then he basically teaches you how to do this hypnotherapy process where you go to your superconscious, which is different than your subconscious. Your superconscious is your life between lives, like where we're hanging out before we come back, right? When we see our life review and all those things you hear about in NDEs.
Yeah.
And in Journey of Souls, what's really cool about these book series is he was a hypnotherapist. He mostly did past life regressions, and then someone continued talking after like it was their death, and he was like, "Wait, what's going on? There's more?" And they're talking about what happened next, and then he just continued asking them questions, and then he tested that with hundreds of other people, and like almost everybody told the same story about what happens after you die. As he's like, I got to put this in a book, and I'm going to teach people how to do this." And there's a whole section about suicide, and when people do that, their soul is in such shock that, when you get to that super conscious and you're taking time to recalibrate to come back, you almost go into this spiritual isolation. Like I imagine us being like our soul being wrapping ourselves like a little fetus, right? And just being in an energy of just the warmest glow, love, and you might take a lot longer than you normally take to reincarnate again because it was just so hard and so shocking and of course not encouraged. And it usually means, and the people that have come out of the souls that have come out of that and then they're talking in this super conscious state, that when they're prepared to go back, they're of course going to experience the same lessons or harder because now they're being challenged to do it again. And I can't say that I've ever been close to suicide the way that you shared, but even when I've entertained the thought, I've always told myself it's just going to be harder next time. Right? I believe that. I believe it's just gonna be fucking worse next time, and I'm not the girl that's gonna deal with it later, like, take all the wisdom teeth out at once. Like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Let's like you said, like, let's let this be the last one, like, let's just do it. I don't know, what are your thoughts on all that?
I agree. And it's so interesting because I literally just thought about this. Literally this what you just shared and I know it to be true because why did I think about this recently?
And
And they actually and I thought about it too in terms of a pictorial sense. I don't know if y'all seen Black Panther, but in Black Panther when he went into the ancestral land, in my view, the ancestral land is that place where those souls are waiting and recovering before they return in another body. Do you remember that part in Black Panther?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
very
remember how his
spiritual.
daddy died.
Mhm.
That was a shock, bombed out like that. So of course he wouldn't have ascended from that state, he would be in a place where he needed to learn some fucking lessons. Also, what he did in his life, isolating his brother and his nephew, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, there's forgiveness to
Yeah, so a lot of times we're thinking that our ancestors, and this is a piece too, particularly for people of color, indigenous populations, that I hope y'all can receive,
yeah.
is that we really put a lot of emphasis on these ancestors and ancestor worship and following, when our ancestors in many ways were not as advanced as even we are today. So they actually cannot add value for your path right now because of a lot of the trauma and things that they were going through on their soul journeys. So it's beautiful to acknowledge their existence, but they cannot help you right now.
Yeah.
Actually, it may do a disservice to you right now. I know that's controversial. I never really said that before, and I don't know how I'm going to begin to talk about this when I do start to bring this to Black communities, but the indigenous communities, but that time is up for the ancestral worship and honoring and all the ceremonies and things that align to that, because we are moving into a golden age, and our ancestors, I mean, we haven't seen what we're going where we're going in, I mean, I want to say like 24,000 years. Like, we can't even conceive like how long it's been, so long, like that the planet has been in this cycle of essentially like the lowest rungs of existence possible.
Yeah.
And so we're coming out of that, you know, and we should be hopeful and grateful that we're on the tail end of it. Like, everyone thinks that we're in this doom and gloom place, but it's like we've gone to the depths already, and so like we need to move forward. And to continue on that, what you were sharing about this space, I actually even was told that when my father passed away, like, he was in shock, because he went into a cardiac arrest because he was supposed to have surgery, and they were just testing his heart for the heart strength for the surgery, but he ended up dying because whatever they did,
Oh my
fucked him up.
gosh.
And
Wow.
so he also was in like that shock state and was there for like some years, like up until I believe like last year or something. We kind of did like a connection and a release for him to understand that he didn't need to kind of like hang around to like help me out, because actually him hanging around and helping me out was holding me down, holding me back.
Mm,
He needed to move on. His
wow.
energy was no longer helpful.
And that's the thing, my energy worker that I apprentice under, she doesn't call herself a medium. She'll be on the show one day, but yeah, there's so much truth to what you shared, and I'm glad that you're talking about that because I've often felt like not completely connected to my ancestors and my lineage and at the same time I also feel a lot of pride. I'm Jewish all the way back. Like all the way back. My sister did a 23andMe and it just said Ashkenazi Jewish like forever. There's no break in the chain. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like we were enslaved in Egypt, like we like the Holocaust, like all sorts of shit, right?" And I have a lot of pride of being a Jewish woman and like that's all wonderful, but I don't feel like I'm carrying that pain forward, like, I'm not connected to the pain of it, and I don't feel that it supports me, and I don't ever talk about that, so thank you for shining a light on that, and,
Yeah.
as I think it's okay, like, it's okay to not and it feels weird to go, "Well, wait, I have no break in the lineage for thousands of years in my DNA, but I don't feel the pain of it," and when I flash back to memories of past lives, I really only have 1 or 2 that stand out to me in being Jewish. The majority of them, I'm in Egypt, or I'm Black on a slave ship, or I'm in the Bahamas, or I've a life on other planets, like, so many different things, being burned as a witch, hung as a witch, all sorts of
Same.
right? It's like, that's the karma that's playing out in my lifetime right now,
Same.
right? Uh,
Same.
so what's interesting man, you should meet up with my Vedic astrologer and do a 5 karmic past life reading. It's really interesting, and like when we have these past lives that are present, which also makes sense to not feeling super connected to the pain of that ancestry and that lineage. These are the lives when we chose from our super conscious state to come in and be Aaron and be Elysia and have this weird fucked up life and grow and hopefully be a light to others. The stuff that we're working out in this lifetime is those things that are left over from those other lifetimes that are incomplete.
Mhm.
I don't feel like I have a lot of those left from my Jewish lifetimes. Maybe I
Yeah.
do. maybe I'll work them out next time, but in this lifetime, I don't feel it. And so I just get to feel like proud and loving, which is good. Um, and I wanted to say my energy worker I work with, when you're talking about talk to God, when you sit to meditate, you tell God, I am worthy. And when you tell God, I am worthy, God says, as you wish. Like every time, every time. So I know I went on a tangent and then I kind of wrapped it up with where we started, but like
It's okay. I
all that.
actually want to. I actually just want to respond to that really quick, and then we can go to your question because I too don't feel connected to me, my blackness, and this is why it was so shocking. Well, it wasn't shocking, but it was. It in many ways it wasn't a surprise because of obviously I'm a black woman, but it became like okay when it became my purpose. It was really revealed to me that I meant to be a mentor or a teacher to black women because I never really felt super connected to this black identity. And that's okay because like you said, I don't know what my past life 100% has been in terms of like me incarnating as a black person or a melanated person forever, forever, forever. But in this life, I know that I chose this particular path, first of all, because of I think the debt, the karmic debt. Like I in many ways my soul wanted the most challenging game, if you will, or
Yeah.
level, if you will.
Yeah. Good for
and
you. That's fair.
and so this bloodline that I have, which is the black identity, for me, arcing back all the way to ancient Egypt, East Africa. I know that for a fact from my bloodline that this would be definitely a hard path, but it would also accelerate me more to the top. So by having such a debt, then I have the ability to have that amount exponentially of gain, if that makes sense to the people listening. I'm trying to articulate it in
It
plain words.
does. It does.
And so in many ways I kind of see that for you too. Like it may not have been your soul's identity, if you will, but it was a soul choice because of the depth of challenge in that bloodline that
Mhm.
needs to be cleaned up. And this is essentially what divine beings in human form have come to do in this day and time are to clean up the shit from the human race
Mhm.
that has been built up through these tribal wars, this all this stuff that's been happening in the human collective that has in many ways destroyed the dimension. And so divine beings in human form are actually not human beings. We are divine beings in human form who've taken on, like I said, the DNA structure and the lineage that which we are experiencing in the human collective, yet we're able to lift it up and bring it up consciously because of our divine lineage as opposed
Mhm.
to our human lineage.
Right.
So I
Our
hope
dharma.
that makes sense to your viewers.
It does. Yeah, you're talking about our dharma, right? We're here for a
Yeah.
purpose, and
Right.
you explained it beautifully, and thank you, and for anyone watching, like, you don't have to feel bad if you don't connect with this whatever it is, and it doesn't mean, like, it doesn't mean we don't. We obviously do. Like, Erin is very proud of who she is and who she helps and where she comes from. And so am I and my family and my godparents' family who were in the Holocaust. And like, I'm so proud and honored that I chose this lifetime. But it doesn't mean that that's my torch to keep carrying,
Mhm.
and to a certain to keep feeling that pain, right? We are
Yeah.
empowered to not keep feeling the pain of our ancestors. And
Yes.
through that, we're empowered to transform and alchemize this new story, right? Take those stories and go, okay, now let's show up as these incredible divine beings, expressing ourselves as humans and
Mhm.
do great work in this world. So, I mean, you more or less already answered what I want to ask you, but like with so much happening in the world, why is it that you focus primarily on helping Black women?
Because I am one.
There we go.
And I speak and teach from personal experience.
Mhm.
And me talking to who I used to have as my target customer, a white 40-year-old male, of course I can connect to him, but I cannot always relate to him.
Mhm.
He can easily connect to me. He can't always relate to me.
Mm.
So, why not make my journey that much more easier in terms of the message I have to give and the transformation that I'm seeking in the people that I'm serving to find someone that I can connect to and someone I can relate to through my own lived personal experiences, which are the most powerful tools to use in that transformation journey. And so I feel like for me to work with Black women, it just is like such a healing thing for me because I am them and they are me. And it's really just that simple.
There it is. So, not everybody is gonna have that story. So if you're
Mm,
watching this and you're like, "Wait a minute, but I work with kids. I'm not a kid anymore," right? But you can tune into your inner child. You
yeah.
can find that connection point. So I think that's a really beautiful thing, and I think it helps in business. Whoever it is you serve, whoever it is you offer and invite and sell to, you find that deep connection as much as you can. People buy from people. They don't buy from businesses unless it's like
Yeah.
a huge brand, right?
Yeah.
And so your clients and your audiences get to see themselves in you. And even just by you doing this beautiful work, this mission you're on, like someone like me can still see myself in you and be like, I
Yeah.
love your show. I want to be on your show. Let's
Yeah.
talk.
That's awesome. That's super awesome.
So it's like, we don't know, and I know there's a lot of men who listen to our shows and like, it's cool. Like these are progressive spiritual people that just like
Yeah. I've
wanna
definitely had men be like, I must be a Black woman entrepreneur because everything you're speaking to resonates with me.
there it is, right? Like our soul might identify as something else and that we are at the age where we are here for it. Okay, love.
Yeah.
Well, as we start to wrap up, a lot of people are going to be huge fans of your show if they're not already. My audience is going to be embracing your podcast, The Meta Business Millennial. And and selfishly, I want to ask you too because you're a few steps ahead of the game for me. Could you share a little bit about your podcast journey? Like what inspired you to do it and how have you built it and what are you doing next?
Oh, I love this question because I don't get a chance to talk about it much.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I launched my podcast 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And I started with the intent to educate people around people who were doing business in a spiritual way or spiritualists who were doing business. So it started with me doing interviews only. So for a whole year, I listened. I listened to other people's stories, oracles and energy healers and tarot card readers and acupuncturists and
All our
you
friends.
name it, I interviewed them, and it was all over the world, people from Australia, people from Europe. I don't know how I found these people. Israel, Bali. I found all these different people, Canada, and they were just so eager to share their work because no one really was listening to them. Astrologers, I forgot about that. My own astrologist I interviewed. I was just really inspired to introduce the world to the opportunity of doing and earning money doing spiritual work because so often I believe, especially at that time, it was not so popular. This was just really post COVID that people were looking at spiritualists kind of like Miss Cleo, like, give me $5 and I'll tell you your
Yeah,
fortune.
I'm from Florida. I know her well.
Yeah. And that's cool. Like she actually was a genuinely trained priestess. I actually saw her story. I mean, it got commercialized, blah, blah, blah. But these are real gifts that people should be compensated for actually now and into the future. And that's how it started. And then it kind of got to the point where it was like, well, I've heard enough. I actually want to tell my story. So then I started channeling my podcasts and just coming to the camera, no idea what I was going to talk about, and I would just talk about leadership, about professional challenges, about my own life journey. Like especially the first few episodes, I just spill the beans. It was like my real world confessional room I created. And it felt
Trouble.
so good. And then it evolved from there when I started to get more clarity around my audience and what they wanted to hear. to now structure my podcast, which Elysia experienced
You're so
around.
organized. You've got a
Yeah.
team. You got graphics. We had 2 meetings.
Now I have like planning meetings before my podcast. I'm
Well,
putting together an outline. I'm like I said, this past week I did a meditation. Now I think on every episode I'm gonna start doing a meditation because
oh,
Aaron, it's a meta business. Don't forget the meta.
tation.
Don't forget the meditation. Don't forget the spiritual. And I'm teaching, but I'm not helping people ground.
Mm,
So that also was a realization for me. So now I'm going to have meditations every episode. So it's really an evolution as I evolve. My podcast has been. And no, I don't have sponsors yet. No, I don't have ads. No, I have not quite yet monetized it. However, my podcast has been incredibly valuable in providing content for my brand. So I
mhm.
use my clips from my social media. I use my content on my podcast to inform articles, to inform, ways I speak or my speaking topics. And so my content from my podcast has really enabled me to start to refine my brand, refine my voice, sharpen my speaking skills, and really deliver in a way that I hope to be able to deliver seamlessly until, my time is up here. And I love to talk. Perfect. So it's like that to me has been the podcast journey, and I highly recommend it for anyone who's trying to build a personal brand. It is absolutely necessary because people, like you said at the start, want to hear from you. They want to learn from you. They want to connect to you. They want to grow with you. And being able to see you regularly and see your evolution and your consistency and your commitment and your intelligence and your contribution generously to their education and their growth and their inspiration. Come on now. That's gold.
That's gold. And again, you are Aaron Patton, the permission granter. You just gave everybody permission. I swear I don't do this on my show, like to most people. You just gave everybody permission to start a podcast, even if
Yes.
they think it's too late or there's already so many shows or what do they have to say? Like, what a great part of your brand.
Yes. Your community needs to hear from you. I literally got 3 people in my fucking lives. I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
Not.
Yeah,
But mark my words, I will have millions, hundreds of millions of people following me.
you will. It was
But
fun.
you think, but it's hard. Last year, I will never forget when I started doing mine, but my solo cast, I remember several times shutting down my computer and sobbing
Why, babe?
before my podcast. Why God, why I gotta do this? Why I gotta do this? Because I would be so gut wrenchingly shameful and insecure that nobody was seeing me. Ooh, poor baby. That no one saw me, that no one was watching me, that no one cared what I had to say. How I was so wrong.
Yeah.
And now look at me,
Mm-hmm.
still the same viewership, still the same situation with a whole different mindset
Uh-huh.
because I know why I do what I do. People are not ready to receive what I have to give right now. But Aaron, I need to be prepared because actually where I'm going is so much higher than what it is right now. I need to prepare myself. Like I just told you, I've had many iterations just in 2 years.
Yeah.
So I need to be prepared for when the people are ready.
And
So
you're
think about this as your preparation.
yeah, and you're
It's
evolving
your
again.
training ground. Not for people to be seeing you and liking you and commenting about you. It's for your training, your growth, your evolution. That's why I do it.
There it is. Do you know how many monthly streams you get?
No.
Can I tell you?
Yeah, I see it. No. I stopped paying attention to the numbers. I mean, I've had like thousands of views here and there, but like
Oh,
in my lives, I'm talking about like in my lives.
okay. Well, I don't know if I could look up your lives, but hold the phones here because I remember looking this up when I reached out to you because I was like, what am I getting myself into? You've got over 11,000 people per month. 11,000 people per month, Aaron.
On what platform?
Okay. Between Apple and Spotify. You do. People are paying attention to you.
I don't even
People are
believe
watching
it. I don't even believe it.
you. Don't give me this. 3 people are listening. 11,000. 11,200 people on average every month between Apple and Spotify. And that's not counting YouTube and Instagram and anywhere
Yeah, and I'm
else.
just looking at YouTube and Instagram and who's checking in my lives.
Okay, well, 11,000 people a month actively listen to you every single week.
Wow.
No pressure, babe, but you're a fucking rock star. And I am
Like
so glad that you know this. I just shine a light on you. Go walk around with a peacock like you're like a peacock today with your tail all spread out because you fucking matter and you are making a difference. Okay. AaronPatton.com, Instagram, I'm Aaron Patton, LinkedIn, I'm Aaron Patton, YouTube, I'm Aaron Patton. And you're probably already one of the 11,000 people listening on Apple or Spotify. Welcome to the show, honey. This is your time.
that part. Thank you, God, for that truth. Because I was sitting here speaking of false. And that's why I was crying, because I even talked about this false evidence appearing real. I was seeing 2 people in my life and thinking only 2 people were listening to me. And my good friend Elysia just told me, nah, bitch, you got 11,200 people listening to you.
100%. And
And I
okay,
shouldn't say nah, bitch, but nah, goddess. No, no. But yeah, I mean, so I be getting too comfortable sometimes, but like, y'all, I'm good on talking sometimes,
I
but
love you.
but get it
Right?
together. Get it together.
Here we are. Here we are shining a light on each other. And one day I'm going to have 11,000 and you're going to be at like 50,000. And I'm going to be like, Aaron, nobody's watching me. And you're gonna be like, it's fine. Keep going. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing.
All right. I'll send you a screenshot.
Thank you.
You're welcome, babe. Okay, so go to her website, check out the Meta Business Millennial podcast. Watch it on YouTube or Instagram, please. And also, Aaron, to get in touch with you, if people want to work with you, I know you offer one-on-one coaching at least
Yes.
at the time where we're recording this, and event hosting and speaking. They do that
Mhm.
through your website.
Yes. And also launching my Soulful Accelerator program, which is a 7-week program for Black women entrepreneurs to really grow and accelerate their businesses by tending to those emotional, those spiritual, those very deep rooted wounds that block us from getting to our highest potential. And that'll be launching in the next month.
Amazing. Okay, great. So everybody follow, pay attention, and I'll get this out ASAP so we could send people your way.
Awesome.
All right, my love. This was so fun. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love you.
I love you too.